Hey everybody, this is Aaron the Pedantic, and today I wanted to convince you that you need to be using more dungeons in your games. In fact, dungeons are the greatest environment that you can play in Dungeons and Dragons. So we're going to be spending some time talking about what makes dungeons great. I also am going to want to do a series on just how to make dungeons better and just breaking it down step by step, each little component and how, how it gets better and all that. In fact, I tried to make that all in one video, but I got some advice that maybe I need to break this up a little bit. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So dungeons are the absolute best environment to play in, and probably the biggest reason for that is just because of the natural way that you deal with space. Whenever you're dealing with a dungeon, you are dealing with a confined, very clearly defined space that you have decided where everything goes. How does everything fit? What is there to look at here and here and here and here? What does it mean? What is all of this? This is something that is in high contrast to how you're dealing with things in the overworld. Whenever people are doing their wilderness exploration, whenever they're doing their city exploration, you may put this kind of detail into this building in particular because they're going to be spending a lot of time there or something of that nature. But generally speaking, it's really not that important what is where and how things fit together nearly as much in any location whatsoever as it is in the dungeon. And the reason that that's a very important thing is because then it matters most exactly what the players are doing at any given time. That is one of the things that makes Dungeons and Dragons fantastic, and really any role-playing game at large, is just the idea that your choices matter. And whenever you have your players in a dungeon, you are making their choices matter more than any other time than they ever will matter, ever. Unless you're just using some massive, okay, I was about to say contrived, massive, massive story reasons why this one choice is going to change the fate of everything. And that has happened in my games before, but it still doesn't have quite the same impact as just knowing the knockdown effects of this one little thing that I did and how that affected this little one thing and this one thing, and just seeing how those continue to compound with each other in the dungeon environment, especially whenever you're dealing with one where it's very dangerous, very deadly. Whenever you are dealing with dungeons, you have things that are expected to be missed. That is another thing that is just beautiful. It's beautiful as a player to be exploring a place and then to have that aha moment. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. There was something over there. Let's go check out that fireplace one more time. Let's that seems like that ground is a little bit loose. Let's pull out our shovel. Pull out the shovel. What do we find? We found something. We found something valuable. This is something that we never would have found otherwise. I mean, these kinds of things can happen in other environments, but they can happen so extensively in dungeons. You can pack dungeons with so much cool stuff that whenever a team actually takes the time to very thoroughly search a dungeon, then they can end up with wonderful, wonderful things, and they will feel like they have really managed their time well, that they have they have mastered a location. And it's more importantly, they will think to themselves, we got this, but what if we didn't? What if we didn't get that? We can see that our dungeon master is not just handing things to us. We have to take the initiative and find things on our own. And what did we miss? If we found this thing, we just barely found this thing. What did we miss that's out there? I think that is really valuable. The fact that you have extremely careful timekeeping in dungeons is also incredibly valuable. You have, timekeeping in different scales depending on, what exactly you're doing. And in the dungeon, it's usually on like a 10-minute to 10-minute basis. And everything is really, really, really crucial because every 20 minutes or so, you're having the opportunity that you may be attacked by monsters. And that's not even to consider any kinds of other ticking clocks that you have going on in the dungeon or anything like that. It just means that time is very, very, very essential. Everyone has to really think about how they want to spend their time. That group that is maybe being super meticulous about wanting to check every single little corner, well, they're probably being bombarded to death with all kinds of creatures that are after them. Or they may just be like missing out on something really important. Maybe the ship with all of this treasure sails off because too much time has elapsed. They made too much noise. They warned their friends. They got away. Maybe there's even a note left behind saying, "Y'all suck." Who knows what exactly is going on, but it makes everything just so important. Another reason that dungeons are just the best is because you can have all of these different creatures together in this kind of near proximity, and have like shaky alliances and things like that, in a way that you wouldn't, if they were separated by different, like domiciles or something like that. You can have them kind of in close proximity, working together for a common goal or something like that, but where the players have the opportunities to turn them against each other and just find unique ways to deal with these bad guys. We've seen them in all kinds of different situations. Whenever I was running against the slave lords, which is the A1 through 4, I think it's A1 through 4, maybe A1 through 5, forgive me. Whenever I was running that series, one of the really enjoyable things that we had them do is they ended up taking a bugbear hostage. It was one of the bugbears that was a guard. He had all kinds of information, all that kind of stuff, and they got what information they could out of him. But at the same time, he was looking for any opportunity he could to try and screw them over. And so there's this shaky alliance going on between them. Not even really an alliance. And at this, where they're just kind of pondering when they're going to slit his throat, and he's just pondering when he's going to be able to kill them so he can get away. Those beautiful, beautiful interactions, they're just so prevalent and so much more common in the dungeon environment than they are in a lot of other environments, especially whenever you can get that bugbear to be like, "Ooh, you know what? I really hate those lizard men off in the next room. Maybe I'm going to lead them over to them, because if they, worst case scenario is they start killing each other, maybe I can, finish the job." Those kinds of things to me are just fantastic. I love seeing these very different creatures working with each other for a common goal, or at least just for mutual survival, or just apathy, just not even dealing with each other. And then seeing the players have these opportunities to bring them together in different ways and find out how they want to handle situations. Then all these resources that they have become really important. Now it's important that I have comprehend languages, or that I happen to be the one elf that speaks bugbear, or whatever it is. These things just become so important. All in one place. All in one place. It is the amusement park of the Dungeons and Dragons game. It just is. It really, really is. You've also got traps. You got traps in dungeons. You've got traps in dungeons. Traps are just one of those things that they are going to have the players constantly on their toes, in a way that they're not just looking out for lights off in the distance to see if maybe we're going to be encroaching upon some enemy territory. We need to, close our lanterns so that we can sneak up there effectively and, lay an ambush, or not an ambush. I guess this would just be just a surprise attack or something of that nature. But now I'm getting lost a little bit. But no, now they have to think about all these other things. Now you've got such simple traps as just a little piece of string, with a bell attached to it, so that whenever they run into it, rings the bell. Then some sentry hears that, and then they go off, and then they make a noise, and everybody gets alerted, and then the entire place is in a total just different state of affairs. Now they're wanting to investigate and see, what is this noise? Who was dumb enough to trip the string if it was one of ours? And if it wasn't, then who are we going to kill and eat tonight? That kind of thing. It could be that you just have these sloping passages that get really slippery at one point, and maybe a player character ends up potentially falling into a pit of snakes. I use pits of snakes all the time, probably too much, honestly. But you have that moment where this could be, perfectly fine state right here, and then you have end state right here, where somebody is they're just dead, just because they made the wrong calculations, they rolled the wrong die. It just did not pan out, and by golly, they're done for. They're donezo. This kind of thing can happen all the time in a dungeon. It is beautiful. Traps. Oh, I love traps. I love traps in dungeons. Treasure. Dungeons have treasure. And the thing is that treasure is okay. Now, this is mostly in the older editions of the game, but treasure was your biggest way of progression, period. As far as your experience points goes, primarily from treasure. As far as your new abilities that you're getting from level to level, with some exceptions, things like the druid, how they're going to get this thing at this level or whatever, or the ranger, the paladin. A lot of the classes, they get stuff at first level. After that, they don't really get much of anything for a very, very long time, except for some very incremental little boosts here and there. Maybe you get a new weapon specialization. Maybe you are now attacking 2 times every 3 rounds. 3 times every 2 rounds. 3 times every 2 rounds. um, Maybe you're doing something, maybe you start getting some followers or something, but it's really nothing that major. But whenever we're talking about magic items, then we're getting into this progression that is built into the game that it's tangible. You can put your hands on it and say, this is I got this thing. It lets me do this cool stuff. And you know where I got it? I got it from this Hydra that we were facing. And we were so close. We were so close to being completely destroyed by this Hydra because one of our friends had a Gorgon head, and was about to use its stone abilities on a chicken just to test it out. But it would only work once, and we didn't know that. But they just decided, wait a minute. There's a Hydra over there right now. And then they stoned the Hydra. We were able to get this massive treasure that honestly we probably wouldn't have been able to get otherwise because that thing was so powerful. Real game story. It happened in my public game. And that kind of thing. Now they have this story about how they got this treasure and that treasure and how it now gives them these abilities and that abilities, rather than something that is just, I got enough treasure, I leveled up. Or I just got enough XP and I leveled up, or I got to a certain part of the story and I leveled up. Now I have cool new ability. Those kinds of cool new ability stories don't really happen. You don't say, oh yes, there was the time I got 7th level. Oh, it was such a good day. And then at that point I was able from then on to do this and blah, 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 blah. Not really. That's not really what happens. I have never, ever, 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 ever seen that the case. Maybe if you level up so infrequently in your games that it's just this historic occasion that you just have to write down in the chronicles everything that happened. But generally speaking, most of the time, whenever you get a new ability, you kind of forget what the circumstance was, unless it was a magic item, unless it was something that happened from play directly. I dealt with this NPC. They put this curse on me. This curse gives me this ability, and it has, this downside. And I have to decide, do I want to get it lifted, or do I just want to deal with the ramifications of the curse? These are all things that are all concentrated in this one area that they just make the dungeon the best environment. And I would like to hear from those of you that maybe you're not using dungeons enough. Maybe you could use them more. I would like to hear your New Year's resolution that you are going to be using more dungeons in 2023. Please make it happen. I know I'm going to be using plenty of dungeons. I like to, go back to dungeons as much as possible, just because, like I said, there could just be so much to do. Everything is so important. It is the best time you can have in Dungeons and Dragons. That is it for today. I hope that y'all have a fantastic holidays. Today is the 24th, so Merry Christmas if it is still that day whenever you're watching this. If not, then Merry or Happy any day that ends with a Y. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Take care of yourselves. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Look forward to the next videos about dungeons, and peace out.